Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into, well, a really fascinating and frankly quite disturbing legal fight that's playing out right now in the Western District of Louisiana. And this isn't just, some dry procedural thing in court. This feels like a really high-stakes confrontation. It's pitting the power of the U.S. government against some fundamental ideas, press freedom, government accountability.
It really is. It involves an independent investigative journalist, Matthew Reardon, and he's fighting back hard against this incredibly broad protective order. You called it a gag order, and that's essentially what it looks like.
Right, something the government wants to slap on his criminal case. So our mission today, for you listening, is to really analyze the arguments he's making, laid out in this court document, the defendant's opposition to the government's motion for protective order. Doc 23, if you're following along with the sources.
And that document makes a pretty stunning claim.
It really does. The core conflict, as I see it, is this. Did the government first put this journalist under surveillance and then kind of provoke a prosecution based only on his constitutionally protected work, his journalism? And maybe even more critically, is the government now trying to use the court system, using the sort of vague protective order, to cover up the very evidence that would prove their motive was retaliatory?
Exactly. That opposition document, it's detailed. It basically asserts the government's request to stop Reardon from even having copies of or publicly talking about. The evidence in his own case, it's not really about security. The argument is it's about suppressing damaging information.
So the defense sees this gag order as like piling on, compounding the first problem.
Precisely. They see it as compounding that initial constitutional violation. It's like weaponizing secrecy against transparency, using the court process itself to do it.
And for you, the learner, really think about the stakes here. Because if the government can actually pull this off, prosecute a journalist for documenting their actions, and then silence him about the evidence showing potential misconduct, well, that sets a really chilling precedent, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It could threaten any citizen, any journalist who's trying to hold federal agencies accountable.
So we're here to distill those arguments. How is the defense trying to dismantle the government's claims? And what's the real danger in letting this kind of secrecy stand?
What's fascinating here is looking at how this whole thing even started, because it seems to flow directly from Reardon's work as a journalist.
Right, let's start there. Who is Matthew Reardon?
Well, he's described as an independent investigative journalist. He runs a platform called We the People News, and it's focused on government accountability. He's apparently got a decent following, too. The document mentions over 3,000 subscribers.
Okay, so not just a random person shouting online. He's actively disseminating information to a public audience.
Correct. That subscriber count suggests he's a public figure engaged in, public discourse.
And how did he first get on the government's radar? It wasn't through anything illegal, right?
No, not according to the defense. It started with a completely legal standard tool, the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA.
FOIA, the classic investigative tool.
Exactly. He used a FOIA request because he was looking into broader concerns about government overreach, specifically involving the U.S. Marshals Service. But what he got back sort of turned that investigation inward, made it very personal.
What did he find?
The FOIA response revealed, pretty clearly it seems, that the U.S. Marshals had actually placed him under active surveillance. They'd issued what's called a BOLO alert. Be on the lookout, specifically targeting him.
Well, okay, a BOLO, that's serious. That means federal law enforcement was actively watching him, sharing his information. What was the justification for putting a journalist on a BOLO list?
And that's the absolute crux of the defense's argument. According to them, the documents showed the only reason for the BOLO was, and I'm quoting here from their filing, his protected journalistic activities.
Just his journalism. Not threats, not criminal activity, just reporting.
That's the allegation. Reporting, investigating federal agencies, maybe being critical of them, activities squarely protected by the First Amendment.
So the surveillance itself, the defense argues, was triggered by constitutionally protected speech. That immediately paints the whole situation in a different light, doesn't it? It smells retaliatory from the get-go.
That's precisely the argument. If federal law enforcement is putting journalists on watch lists just because they're doing their jobs asking tough questions, well, that's the definition of a chilling effect. The defense says this BOLO shows bad faith right from the start. The motive wasn't safety, it was suppression.
Okay, so he finds out he's under surveillance via this BOLO. What does he do?
Well, he tried to address it through official channels first. He went down to the local federal courthouse in Lafayette. He wasn't protesting at this point. He just wanted to file a formal administrative complaint about the surveillance.
Makes sense. Try to resolve it internally.
But apparently he was essentially turned away. The document says he was told he couldn't file it locally. He have to take it all the way to Washington, D.C.
Which is a pretty significant hurdle for an individual citizen.
Right. It basically shut down his ability to address the issue where it was happening. And the defense suggests this failure of the local system kind of set the stage for what happened next.
Okay, so let's get the timeline straight leading up to the arrest. The FOIA request didn't just reveal the BOLO, it also included emails, right? Internal communications.
Yes, emails between U.S. Marshals and courthouse staff, apparently discussing the BOLO, real internal back and forth.
And Reardon, acting as a journalist.
He published them. 2 days before the incident that led to his arrest, the filing gives the date, August 23, 2025. He lawfully posted those FOIA documents on his news website.
Including those internal emails.
Including those specific emails. The very communications the government now claims are too sensitive for anyone to see and need this broad protective order.
Okay, that fact seems huge. Strategically for the defense, anyway. The stuff the government wants to classify as secret now was already put into the public domain by the journalist using documents the government itself released via FOIA 2 whole days before he was even arrested.
It seems to completely undercut the government's argument about needing to protect this information now, doesn't it? How can you argue something is critically sensitive when you released it yourself through FOIA and it's been out there publicly?
It feels like trying to put the genie back in the bottle after you opened it yourself.
That's a good way to put it. So this all leads up to August 25, 2025. 2 days after he published those emails exposing the BOLO situation.
What happened then?
He went to the courthouse steps. The defense says he was peacefully protesting the government overreach he documented. And, crucially, he was also documenting his own protest, live streaming it for his news site's audience, exercising his First Amendment rights on 2 fronts, speech and press.
And the outcome?
He was arrested. His equipment was seized.
So from the defense's perspective, the narrative is pretty straightforward. Marshals surveil him for protected speech. He exposes it. He protests it. They arrest him.
Exactly. They argue the prosecution isn't really about whatever happened on the courthouse steps that day. It's a direct retaliatory response to him exercising his constitutional rights, especially publishing those embarrassing internal documents. The crime, in this view, wasn't the protest itself, but exposing the BOLO.
Here's where it gets really interesting then, because now the government seems to be trying to use the court's own rules, the federal rules of criminal procedure, to achieve the silence they couldn't get through surveillance or maybe the initial arrest. They want this broad protective order.
And the scope of what they're asking for is, well, it's pretty breathtaking, according to the defense filing. It's close to a total blackout on the evidence.
What do you mean, total blackout?
They apparently want to prohibit Reardon from even possessing copies of the evidence being used against him. And they definitely want to stop him from publicly discussing any of it.
Wait, stop him from possessing his own evidence? How does that even work?
Often these orders restrict discovery materials to the attorneys only. But the defense argues that in a case like this, rooted in public speech and government transparency, preventing the defendant himself from reviewing and discussing the evidence, especially evidence about his own actions, and the government's reaction severely hampers his ability to mount an effective defense. Not just in court, but in the court of public opinion, too.
Which can be critical when you're facing charges you believe are politically motivated.
Exactly. So let's look at the government's justification for wanting such extreme restrictions. What are they telling the court?
Well, reading Doc 23, it seems they rely heavily on fairly general language about security, almost boilerplate stuff.
That's what the defense claims. The government says the discovery materials contain, and I'm quoting their motion as cited by the defense, sensitive courthouse security operational plans, and also communications between the Marshal Service and federal judges.
Okay, those phrases sound serious. Operational plans, communications with judges. That gets a court's attention.
It's designed to. But what's the core security claim based on those?
Their main assertion seems to be that the order is needed because the materials, again quoting, may tend to reveal the methods or operational behavior of the U.S. Marshal in performing its courthouse security function.
Notice that language. May tend to reveal, it's speculative, isn't it? It's not saying this will reveal classified methods or this will endanger someone. It's about a potential theoretical possibility.
That vagueness seems to be the defense's main point of attack here. If security is the real reason, Why not be specific about the threat?
That's the core objection. The defense argues the government has completely failed to show the required good cause for these restrictions. They're relying on these vague assertions about general methods and operational behavior.
And why is that not enough, legally?
Because the defense argues it's way too broad, especially when you weigh it against Reardon's need for this evidence. Remember, for him, these documents, particularly the BOLO communications, their internal Marshal emails about him, they aren't just side details.
They're central to his defense, right?
They are his defense, essentially. They're crucial to proving his claim that the whole prosecution is improperly motivated, that it's retaliation for his journalism. So to hide those documents or gag him from talking about them is, in effect, preventing him from proving his innocence in the most direct way.
It sounds like a classic case of potentially trying to use security as a shield. If documents might show you acted improperly, suddenly those documents become too sensitive for anyone else to see or discuss.
It can certainly look that way, and that's the defense's contention. It's circular logic. These documents are sensitive because they involve our operations. The defense counters. No, these documents are necessary because they allegedly show your operations improperly targeted protected speech, and now you're trying to suppress the proof.
That definitely elevates the First Amendment concern way beyond a typical dispute over discovery materials.
It absolutely does. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the whole legal fight really hangs on Rule 16, the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. That's the rule allowing protective orders.
And it puts the burden on the government, right? They have to prove they need it.
Squarely on the government. They have to establish good cause. And the defense argues this isn't or shouldn't be a low bar, especially not in case with these kinds of public accountability and First Amendment issues swirling around it.
So how high is that bar? What does good cause actually mean here? The defense cites some cases.
They do. They point to precedents like United States v. Corrales and Henry terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001. These cases basically say good cause requires the government to show a clearly defined, specific, and serious injury.
Clearly defined, specific, and serious, not just a vague possibility.
Exactly. That's the critical distinction. The government needs to articulate precisely what harm will occur if a particular document is released, not just that harm might occur in some general way.
And the defense also quotes another case, United States v. Smith, saying this showing has to be based on a particular factual demonstration of potential harm, not on conclusory statements. Let's break that down. What's the difference?
Okay, so a particular factual demonstration would be something like, Your Honor, document XYZ contains the undercover identity and current location of Marshal Jones, and releasing it would put him and his family in immediate physical danger. It's specific.
Got it. And a conclusory statement.
That's more like what the defense claims the government is doing here. Your Honor, releasing these documents could generally reveal our operational methods and compromise courthouse security. It lacks specifics. Who is endangered? What specific tactic is revealed that isn't already obvious? Which ongoing operation is affected?
So the defense is arguing the government hasn't provided any of that specific detail, just waved the security flag.
That's their argument. They contend the government has totally failed to meet that Smith standard. They used generalizations about methods, but didn't pinpoint any specific danger to a person, a specific security measure, or a particular operation.
Now, what about the First Amendment angle? We know discovery material doesn't always get full First Amendment protection because of that Seattle Times v. Reinhart case.
Right. Reinhart basically said that in civil cases, parties can't just use the discovery process as an excuse to publish embarrassing but irrelevant private information about their opponents. There isn't an automatic First Amendment right to publish all discovery.
But the defense argues it's different here.
They argue it's very different. Because here, the core allegation is that the prosecution itself is retaliation for protected speech. When the case is fundamentally about the First Amendment has to be a relevant concern when the court weighs whether to issue a gag order.
So the court has to balance the government's claimed injury against the public's interest in knowing if a journalist was arrested just for doing his job.
Precisely. And the defense argues that in this specific case, the public interest in transparency and figuring out if the government overstepped its bounds heavily outweighs a generalized, unproven security concern.
Okay, now let's get to what feels like the defense's factual knockout blows, the already public problem. They seem to have several points showing the government's secrecy claims just don't hold water.
They really hammer this. Yeah. There are three main factual rebuttals they raise. First, and maybe the simplest, the The arrest itself was incredibly public.
Oh, so
Reardon was live streaming it. He had already published extensive video of the protest, the interactions, the arrest itself on his YouTube channel. It's apparently been viewed thousands of times.
So the government can't now claim those videos, which are part of the discovery, are suddenly secret, sensitive, operational material.
That's the argument. How can it be sensitive if it was broadcast live and is still available online for anyone to see? Listing it as discovery doesn't magically make it secret again.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the second factual rebuttal? This one seems really potent.
This goes back to the BOLO documents and the emails. We established Reardon published the U.S. Marshal communications and the BOLO alert obtained via FOIA 2 days before his arrest.
Right.
This creates, well, a logically impossible situation for the government's secrecy claim regarding those specific documents. The defense even notes that the FOIA documents Reardon published might have included more Marshal emails than what the prosecution later turned over in discovery.
So the government released potentially more sensitive info via FOIA than they even gave him in his criminal case discovery. And now they want to gag him from discussing the discovery version.
It seems that way, based on the defense filing. If the government itself released this material, and the journalist lawfully published it, any claim of necessary secrecy for that specific information seems to have completely evaporated. They're trying to retroactively classify information that's already firmly out there.
That feels like a major hurdle for the government's motion. What's the third main point?
This one is about the general observability of courthouse security. It's kind of a common sense argument. Meaning courthouse security isn't performed in a secret bunker. People walk into federal courthouses every day. They go through metal detectors. They see where marshals are standing. They observe the basic procedures. These things are, by necessity, public.
So the defense is saying you can't suddenly declare these publicly observable routines sensitive operational methods just because they happen to be mentioned or shown in discovery documents.
Exactly. If the public can see it happen every day, it's not a secret. The defense implies that if the government did have genuinely non-public, sensitive details about security protocols, things beyond routine observation, they should have submitted those specific items to the judge privately, in camera, to justify the order. But apparently, they didn't.
Okay, so let's get specific. The government paints a picture of needing to protect sensitive plans and communications. What did the defense actually find when they looked at the discovery materials the government provided?
Well, the defense counsel's description is starkly different from the government's general claims. They say the materials mostly consist of things directly related to the incident itself and Reardon's condition.
Like what?
Like Reardon's own videos, the ones already online.
Mm-hmm.
Then, video recordings of Reardon after his arrest time spent in a Marshal holding cell receiving medical attention. Standard stuff like incident reports documenting what happened.
And crucially, what about those internal emails the government seems so concerned about?
The defense counsel states that upon review, the email communications provided in discovery primarily relate to the incident itself and do not appear to contain detailed security protocols, building schematics, or anything like that.
So, no blueprints, no secret codes, no detailed tactical plans.
Not according to the defense review of the materials provided so far.
And what about protecting personal information? PII, names, addresses, that kind of thing.
The defense explicitly states there is no PII of security personnel or federal judges in the discovery, beyond Reardon's own information, of course. So the idea that the order is needed to protect people's private data seems unfounded, based on their review of the actual content.
So if the discovery is mostly videos of public events, recordings of Reardon post-arrest, standard reports, and emails about the incident and the already public BOLO, what's the real purpose of the gag order, according to the defense?
Suppression. They argue its only functional purpose is to prevent Reardon and the public from discussing the evidence that potentially shows government misconduct and retaliatory motive.
So what does this all mean? Let's zoom out again. Thinking about the listener, you hearing this, what's the fundamental danger here? What precedent gets set if the government wins this argument?
The stakes are just enormous, really, because this case touches the very line of accountability for federal law enforcement. The defense argues there's an overwhelming public interest in transparency right here.
Why specifically here?
Because the public needs to be able to judge for itself.
Yeah.
Are U.S. Marshals respecting constitutional limits when they decide to put citizens, especially journalists, under surveillance using things like BOLO alerts, based purely on protected activities like reporting or criticism.
It really goes back to that core idea from the Bilotti case you mentioned. The government shouldn't limit the stock of information the public can draw from. If they arrest someone for exposing misconduct, then gag them using the court.
They shrink that stock of information. They censor the narrative. The public never gets the full picture to decide if the government acted properly.
So the core danger, the main issue we wanted to focus on today, is this potential for systematic intimidation, right?
Absolutely. The defense paints a picture where, if this protective order is granted on such vague grounds, it creates a playbook.
A playbook for what?
A playbook for silencing critics. Step 1. Initiate a prosecution, maybe on shaky grounds, claiming security concerns. Step 2. Fail to provide specific evidence of any real harm. Step 3. Use a broad, vague protective order to bury the internal communications, the emails, the BOLO documents that actually prove your real motive was retaliation against speech.
It basically sets up a frightening loop. Criticize us, expose us, and we'll arrest you and then legally gag you from proving we were wrong.
That's the fear. It perfects the chilling effect using the court's own procedures. It weaponizes the legal system itself against transparency.
Think about it. A journalist uses lawful means, FOIA, to uncover potential misconduct. He publishes it. He gets arrested. And then the evidence he uncovered gets locked away behind a secret operations shield requested by the very agency whose conduct is in question.
And the public is left in the dark. They can't properly assess whether the prosecution is legitimate or just punishment for speaking out.
This danger is why the defense argues that even if, and it's a big if from their perspective, even if the court found some tiny shred of a genuine security concern in some document,
Which they strongly denied the government has actually shown.
the proposed protective order is still completely overbroad. It's like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. There have to be less restrictive ways.
Exactly. The legal principle is that restrictions on rights, even qualified rights related to discovery, must be narrowly tailored. The government can't just ask for the maximum possible restriction, this blanket gag order, when more targeted options exist.
And the defense actually proposed some of these alternatives, didn't they? They basically said, here's how you could protect legitimate secrets without silencing me completely.
Yes, they offered clear alternatives and argued the government hadn't explained why these wouldn't work. The first one is pretty straightforward. Targeted redactions.
How would that work? Just blacking out specific bits?
Pretty much. If there's genuinely sensitive information in a document, say a specific access code or maybe an agent's private phone number, you redact just that specific piece of information. Black ink over just those words or numbers.
But the rest of the document stays.
The rest of the document, the substance of it, like the discussion about the BOLO alert, the reasons given, the internal debate that remains fully accessible to Reardon, his lawyers, and potentially the public. It protects the specific secret without suppressing the context or the evidence of motive.
Okay, that seems reasonable. What was the other alternative? Tiered disclosure.
Tiered disclosure is a bit more sophisticated. You'd categorize the discovery materials based on sensitivity.
How?
You'd say, okay, Tier 1 is non-sensitive stuff, Reardon's own videos that are already public, the standard incident reports, maybe those BOLO communications since they were already FOIA'd. That tier gets full disclosure, fully discussable.
And tier 2?
Tier 2 might be documents with demonstrable, specific, genuinely high-level security information, if any actually exist in the discovery. Maybe detailed operational plans, if there were any. Only those specific documents would face restrictions, like maybe being attorney's eyes only.
And the defense thinks most, if not all, of the current discovery falls into tier 1.
That seems to be their assessment. But the point of a tiered system is it stops the government from using one potentially sensitive paragraph in one document as an excuse to gag discussion about the entire case, including all the non-sensitive but politically damaging material.
To make this concrete for the court, the defense didn't just suggest these ideas, they actually drafted a proposed alternative order, right? What were the key features of their proposal?
Yes, they offered a model order. And its core principle was putting the burden of specificity squarely back onto the government where it belongs. First, their proposed order would require the government to specifically identify every single document or even specific parts of documents they claim needs protection.
No more blanket claims.
No more blanket claims. For each item, they'd have to provide a brief, specific explanation of the security concern. Why is this sentence sensitive? Why is this paragraph a problem?
Which then allows the defense to challenge those claims item by item.
Precisely. They could test each claim against that Smith standard we talked about. Is this a particular factual demonstration of harm or just a conclusory statement? It forces a real review, not just rubber stamping a vague request.
And for any information that did meet that high standard and was deemed genuinely sensitive, what restrictions did the defense agree to in their proposal?
They offered reasonable limits. They said Reardon and his lawyers would agree not to publicly disclose things like specific non-public security protocols, contact info for security personnel if it appeared, or technical details about security systems. Things that directly relate to the physical security of the courthouse and the people in it.
That seems like a fair concession to actual security needs.
It addresses the government's stated concerns without gutting Reardon's ability to defend himself.
But crucially, their proposal also explicitly carved out what Reardon must be allowed to possess and discuss, right?
Absolutely crucial. Their orders specify that he retains the full right to possess and publicly discuss all the non-sensitive evidence. That explicitly includes his own videos, all the communications about the BOLO alert, anything already public via FOIA, and the general facts and circumstances surrounding his arrest and prosecution, including the government's alleged motive.
Basically everything he needs to argue that the prosecution is retaliatory.
Exactly. It protects his core defense.
And did their proposal also address that issue of him personally possessing the evidence versus just his lawyers?
Yes, they tackled that too. Instead of the government's likely preference to restrict all discovery to just the lawyers, the defense proposed that only the very small number of proven, specifically identified security-sensitive documents be restricted that way.
But Reardon himself could possess and review the rest.
He could possess the bulk of the materials, the non-sensitive stuff, the evidence relating to his own actions and the government's response.
So you're tuning in live for National Fuck the U.S. Marshals Day. This is We the People News. We're live outside the John M. Shaw United States Courthouse, where these tyrants with the U.S. Marshals Service think that it's okay to criminalize journalism and the First Amendment. Had BOLOs put out. I knew that there was funny business going on. Y'all want me to come in? Hey, they're trying to wave me in the courthouse. So he just waved me in. Should I accept the invitation? I think I should accept the invitation. Because I wasn't going to go in there. I was perfectly fine staying out here. But I just got an invitation into the courthouse. So let's go into the courthouse. I will never turn down an invitation such as that. But you locked the doors on me. But y'all locked the doors on me. Hello. After you. Well, look who it is.
Hey man, look, I'm gonna tell you one time. Can't be in here to report it to be arrested.
Okay, you called me in here. You son of a bitch, I was outside on the fucking sidewalk. You told me to come in here, motherfucker. I'm going outside. You called me in here, motherfucker. You baited me in here, you piece of shit. Fucking pussy. You fucking pussy. Fuck your mom. He literally waved me in here. He told me to come inside. Was grinning and then told me he was going to throw me in handcuffs as soon as I walked in the doors. A public building. Now they just asked for it. I'm on the public sidewalk by the road, peacefully exercising my rights. And he's over there smiling. There's a big part of me that wants to go back in and take the arrest. There's a big part of me that wants to go back in and take the arrest. Because that's entrapment and violation of my First Amendment rights. But I do know this. This is not their fucking property. This is we the peoples. This is where they take an issue and they pour gasoline on it and they make it 10 times worse. 10 times worse. Okay? When they openly invited me up there just for me to go through the door and for them to try to threaten me with arrest. Happy National Fuck the U.S. Marshals Day. Here's what we're going to do here. I'll put this right here. Sounds reporting right against the glass. To get the tyrants on the inside. Yeah, these are the real sovereign citizens inside. That's right. These are the real sovereign citizens, and this is how they get exposed. Okay? This is what happens when they go and criminalize free speech. When they criminalize journalism. That's what happens when they criminalize a camera of mass destruction. I'm trying to find a good place to put this down at. I wish I had another tripod. It's a collective effort of everybody to stand up for their rights. Where does it say stay off? So what gives you the authority to tell me a damn thing? You need to keep on stepping, and I mean it. Buddy. I ain't playing your games. That's why I say, Happy National Fuck the U.S. Marshals Day. Go 10-8. Keep on stepping. I'm going to make you look like an idiot today. You might want to go 10-8. 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 You put hands on me, I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to tell you that right now. All right? You're going to get sprayed down. What'd they tell you inside? Huh? Well, I know you went in to go talk to them. Oh, I'm not going anywhere. Absolutely not. I haven't done a thing wrong. I'm not going a place. And you can't make me go a place. I'm not trespassing. I'm on public fucking property. Okay, let's see. I'll take the arrest. I'll take the arrest right here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come on with it. Come on with it. These people put out BOLOs for no reason, circulating my picture, criminalizing journalism, and when they try to silence our voice, we the people get louder. Operation Silence the Press. See, these people need to learn. Learn. And see, it starts right here with the 911 dispatchers. Because when somebody is actually well within their rights doing something, the 911 dispatchers don't even need to allow resources to get burned in the first place. I'm standing my ground. I'm holding my ground on this one. I'm not getting pushed off my spot. I'm holding my ground. I'm holding the line. Got to hold the line. When you're well within your rights, you cannot get pushed away. I mean, you give them an inch and they take a mile. Got to hold the line, folks. Got to hold the line. Huh? You need to suck my dick. I'm on public fucking property. Let's go. Let's go. No, you're not. I'm getting it. You ain't gonna touch my camera. You ain't touching my camera. You ain't touching my camera. I'm getting my camera.
You grab your camera and you move it right now. If you don't, I am seizing this camera.
Is that right?
That is absolutely right.
So what? So this door.
You've got 1 second.
This door is locked.
You've got 1 second.
This door is locked.
This is an entryway. You can put it on the other side of the barricade.
I'm right. I'm fine right here.
2,
I'm
1.
really. Oh! Ah! 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 Ah!
Congratulations.
Good.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say you can will be against the report of law. You have the right to consult an attorney, have attorney present or questioning.
I want an attorney.
You cannot afford
I want an attorney. Attorney.
In 1971, the court drew a line in Cohen v. California. Paul Cohen's "fuck the draft jacket" wasn't polite, but it was speech. Justice Harlan's reminder, one man's vulgarity is another's lyric, wasn't just clever phrasing. It was constitutional bedrock. The First Amendment protects the raw and the uncomfortable, because power doesn't get to dictate tone. 17 years later, NWA pushed that line further. Fuck the Police was banned from radio, condemned by politicians, and earned the group a warning letter from the FBI. But it survived. Not because gatekeepers approved, but because courts had already established in cases like Cohen that profanity and anger are protected when they are political speech. The music didn't just survive. It became an anthem against police abuse, echoing what the court had acknowledged years before. Offensiveness is not a crime. Now in 2025, I found myself living that same fight in flesh and bone. My camera was my lyric, my audit, my anthem. Yet the U.S. Marshals tried to crush it with fists instead of bans. They treated journalism like contraband, seizing equipment as if recording itself were illegal. They dragged me into cells, beat me, mocked me, and tried to rewrite the law with violence. What they could not silence with statutes, they tried to silence with shackles. The irony is bitter. The FBI once threatened NWA for words. Today, federal agents brutalize citizens for cameras. Tools of transparency. Both reveal the same truth. When speech exposes authority, authority will try to call it dangerous. Through FOIA, I had already uncovered evidence of U.S. Marshals Service bulletins and BOLOs targeting me, documents redacted so heavily you could barely read them, but enough to show they were treating journalism and First Amendment auditing as crimes. Those documents foreshadowed what came next. And now, because of what has happened, those pages must be unredacted. The conspiracy is no longer theoretical. It is lived proof. On August 25, 2025, outside the federal courthouse in Lafayette, Louisiana, Marshal Hayden Newsom ordered me to move my camera away from a locked courthouse door. He threatened to seize it if I didn't comply. I complied. I backed up with my tripod and 4K camera in hand. That's when he attacked. He slammed me to the ground. My brand new gimbal was destroyed. My tripod shattered into pieces against me and underneath me. My 4K camera was wrecked. He violently accosted me as if press equipment was contraband. They dragged me into a holding cell. That's where Newsom drove his knuckles into my chest while I struggled to breathe. My heart was pounding, 140 to 160 beats a minute. When I knocked his arm away to stop the pain, he threatened me again and again. Assault on a federal officer. They laughed while I gasped for air. They delayed calling 911 for nearly an hour. When the paramedics finally arrived, they mocked me, saying I was just trying to delay jail. At the hospital, the indifference continued. Dismissive, condescending, unwilling to acknowledge the injuries inflicted by federal hands. When I was discharged late at night, Marshal Newsom shackled me and handed me off to Deputy Olivet of St. Martin Parish Jail. I asked before he even pulled out of the lot, "What am I being booked on?" Deputy Olivet admitted there was no charge, just a hold for the U.S. Marshals. I told him directly, transporting me without charge is kidnapping under 18 U.S. Code 1202. He claimed he was following orders. I reminded him of Nuremberg, that just following orders is never a defense. He drove me anyway. At St. Martin Parish Jail, the abuse escalated. Deputy Olivet and a female booking officer nearly broke my wrist, hoisting me by handcuffs ratcheted down so tight I could feel my bones grinding. It was torture, plain and simple. They threw me into a tiny freezing cell with only a torn blanket. I had no food the entire day. I lay on concrete in pain from my chest, my wrist, my ribs, mocked by guards who treated my suffering as entertainment. And all the while, the marshals laughed about what they had done. Laughing at destroyed equipment. Laughing at a broken body. Laughing at constitutional rights discarded like trash. This is not law enforcement. This is not justice. This is a conspiracy. One already foreshadowed in the FOIA records. One that is now spilled into the open through violent arrest, torture, medical neglect, and unlawful detention. In 1971, the Supreme Court said the government cannot criminalize vulgar speech. In 2025, the U.S. Marshals Service tried to erase that ruling with fists, with broken equipment, with shackles and cold cells. But here's the truth. They failed. I'm still here. I'm still speaking. And I will not stop. Because history will not absolve those who hide behind just following orders. It will remember those who stood. This is the warning. This is the record. And this is not the end. Olivia, I need to know I guess an email address. I was trying to go ahead and get it printed out over here. I've got a legal demand that I need to serve on this jail, on the sheriff's department. So I guess if I can get an email address so I can send that right now, and I can go ahead and get. All right. Well, can you figure it out then?
Yeah. Only thing I could probably tell you would probably come back like 3 days when the office is open, and they could get you like an email or something like that, something you know what I'm saying? To get where you could send an email.
Because y'all fucked up whenever y'all did what y'all did to me. You know that, right? Y'all fucked up bad. I mean, you knew that night whenever you took me over here, You knew you were doing wrong. You knew you were booking me into this jail on no charge. That was kidnapping. And I explained that to you. You brought me here. There was no charge when y'all booked me into the jail. How do you justify booking a free citizen into jail, into a cage, and then on top of that, the torture that I went through? I don't know if you recall. I'm sure you recall because you know how painful it was. You know how I was screaming because I was literally toted by the chain of my handcuffs with it ratcheted down as just about as tight as y'all could ratchet it down. You know y'all fucked up. And I'm holding y'all to account.
I can't really talk right now because I gotta get home. So,
Well, I sure wish I could have gone home whenever y'all played the fucking stupid ass games that y'all played. That shit's not cool at all. How would you like to get locked into a cage on something, not even getting charged? But because you wear a uniform, it's all right. You can get away with it. You motherfuckers need to start watching what the fuck you do. Yeah, you sure can. I'd like an email address. I mean, the longer that you drag this out, the longer I stay here. I need an email address to send a legal demand letter. And then I'll bring a paper copy up here Monday, but I want to send the legal demand letter. Okay, but I want to get it in somebody's hands tonight. I think I will, or I'll be out here. I mean, or like y'all love to say, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. It's up to you. I'm not playing this tyrant bullshit. Y'all tortured me. You booked me into jail on no charge. I have every reason to be fucking pissed. Hey, you got a handicap pass? You got a handicap pass for that vehicle? Oh yeah, the camera on mass destruction. Shut up, Delani. Oh wow, you can see? Tell him I'm on a public sidewalk, Delani. Tell him I'm on a fucking public sidewalk. Snitch. Well, I guess we're about to have some contact. Because of a snitch calling about a guy with a camera on a public sidewalk. Redressing his grievances with his government. Cry me a fucking river, pansy. Let's see who draws the short straw and gets sent out here. It should have been your ass. I'm on a fucking public sidewalk. Yeah, I'm on a public sidewalk. Your fucking bullshit ass directives don't mean shit to me. You're dismissed, motherfucker. Okay, right here, sidewalk. Right here, sidewalk, dumbass. Hey, right here's a sidewalk, dumbass. It's the only place I've been. Idiot. You're dismissed. Take your fucking ass inside. Oh, did you draw the short? We got the popo. Two of them. So you drew the short straw tonight, huh? All right. So let me go ahead. I know y'all are gonna want to know what's going on. These sons of bitches kidnapped me. They tortured me. I was August 25th. I was booked into jail on no charge. You cannot. Due process requires that in order to take a free man and lock him in a cage, there must be charges. They locked me up regardless on a hold for the U.S. Marshals because the U.S. Marshals violated my rights and broke my camera gear over me back in Lafayette and then just told them to hold me overnight. And that's what they did. But to make matters even worse, when we got here to the jail at nighttime, when Deputy Olivier brought me here, and I warned him this was kidnapping, I wasn't going to participate in my own kidnapping. They had the handcuffs cinched down so tight on my wrist I could feel my bones grinding, and they literally lifted me up by the chain of the handcuffs and toted me inside. That's torture. I don't know if you know how bad that hurts, okay? I didn't think waterboarding was so bad. You know, just the sound of it, that's probably worse than waterboarding, to be lifted up and carried by your handcuff. So all I'm wanting, and like I keep telling them, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. All it takes is a little bit of compliance. I need an email address to send a legal demand letter to, because the traffic, I got here a little late and I couldn't get it printed off. It was kind of a last minute thing because I didn't realize that my attorney was not going to file for this particular stuff because it's part of a civil matter. I need an email address because I want to send this stuff out. Look, this guy needs to go back to eating some fucking Twinkies or something. I don't know what his deal is. I want an email address so I can send my legal demand letter. Yeah. And then I'm going to bring a physical copy by at the beginning of next week. But it's important to me to make sure that this digital copy gets into the hands of somebody today so that it officially puts the hold on this evidence. I know, that's ridiculous. Yeah, because you know what? If they would just simply comply, I could have done my thing and been out of here. But now there's 4 freaking cops over here over me redressing my grievance after getting tortured and booked into jail with no charge. I know when I'm requesting. It's on the legal demand. But making threats, it's all on video. It's been live streamed. The whole thing's live streamed. That's a false report. He just made a false report to law enforcement. That is a false report he just made.
I'm with the city police, all right? The sheriff's office deputy is going to come.
I want him charged. That was a false report of a crime.
Well, I don't have any clue. Like I said, you said you have it on video. That's cool, but I don't know what.
Okay, but because he's a law enforcement officer, that means that you just take his word right away when I'm telling you that this whole thing is live streamed. He's saying I was on their property. I've been on a public sidewalk literally the entire time. So, but you're going to take his word because he's a cocksucking damn.
The sheriff's deputy's coming. They said it was a disturbance, so we came to back her up.
A disturbance, my ass. I have a right to redress my grievances after everything that happened.
But she's not going to help you with what you need. We with the city.
I want that lying son of a bitch charged right there. No, I want him charged. I want him charged. He said that I threatened him and that I was on their property, and both of them are lies. In fact, like I said, the live stream is going, We the People News. Go there, and you can actually go back and actually watch it right now to see that he lied. That's a crime. He needs to be charged. This is We the People News. Yeah, this is the problem, okay? Bad cops they're the worst threat to a good law enforcement officer, if there is such a thing. A dirty, crooked cop like him that will lie and try to get y'all to take his back. He's a corrupt piece of shit is what he is. I want him to go back to eating a box of Twinkies and freaking do something on his official time. He lied. He made a false report to law enforcement. I got this on video. Both of the things that he told them.
What's your name?
I'm not answering questions.
So listen, where, what you doing, what you trying to do.
What is that?
Okay? Trying to get us to act out of pocket.
No.
Or out of way.
Wrong.
Correct.
Wrong.
Okay?
Do you want to know the truth? No, wrong. No, you stop talking.
Okay?
You want to know the truth?
I don't.
Shut up.
Unlawful reasons.
Shut up then.
Okay? You were on property.
I was on a public sidewalk.
That you probably had a legal and lawful reason to be.
I was tortured by this jail and I was booked under no charge. I didn't make any threats.
So once you started making threats,
It's all on live stream. This is what I'm talking about. Y'all listen to a lying sack of shit like him. Look at the live stream. The live stream, it's public. People are watching it. They saw. Okay, then don't take his word because he's a fuck.
but does it very much seem like you want to communicate with me? No,
Am I being detained?
you're not.
All right, have a good day.
You as well.
I'm not answering questions. I'm not having any kind of consensual contact. You don't want to hear the truth. You want to listen to lies, so fuck off. I'm not on the property over here. That right there is a public sidewalk. Nope. I'm sorry. That is a public sidewalk.
You were on where you were making threats as part of the jail.
Making threats? Okay, what are you going off of saying that I was making threats?
The deputy.
Okay.
Your badge is probably a lot more than your live stream.
You know what? If you motherfuckers would do your job and actually look at the video, if y'all would look at it, you would see he's a lying sack of shit and you're a corrupt sack of shit.
Only on Tuesday.
Go fuck yourself. What is your name and badge number actually?
My name is Deputy Colombo. Badge number 2221. Anything else?
2221. A name and badge number? 1044. Name and badge numbers? Vincent 67 and Rumble 141. So he told y'all the lies? No, he told them. He told them and it's on video. He told them and it's on video. He told them and it's on video. Okay, he could have still.
Have a good day.
Fuck you.
Have a good day.
Fuck you.
How you family said hello. Have a good day.
Eat shit.
Okay.
Yeah, fucking dyke ass bitch. I'm not answering any more questions because, yeah, but y'all don't care about the truth. If you did, you would have. If you did, you would have shut her the fuck down.
But that's, we don't look at it. This is the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is runs the jail. We can't look world Patriot News.
No, I have Patriot News, but We the People News. I'll go ahead and tell you. Look, you know what? Hey, immerse yourself in the truth, okay? Because that's what I publish is I back it up by truth, and it's, you know, I'm sick and tired of this shit going on where, you know, it's do y'all realize that it's people like her and people like him that make y'all's job more dangerous?
But you gotta think of this, that, sir, not perfect, but they're doing a job to protect everybody.
All right, let me ask you this question real quickly, okay? Do you not think that when I expose tyrants, the bad cops, that I'm saving lives with the good officers? Do you not think that there's a chance that if it weren't for people like me exposing bad people like her and like him,
But you're taking 10 minutes and you don't know what she's done. She's done
It doesn't-
things out there
it
and saved lives.
you know what? It doesn't matter. The second you turn your back and allow a crime to be committed, allow somebody's rights to be violated.
What rights of yours were violated?
I just told you.
No, you didn't.
When that deputy lied and said that I was on y'all's,
What rights of yours were violated?
when that deputy,
What rights of yours were violated?
all right, let me swear an affidavit. And that way you can either take me to jail or take him.
What rights of yours were violated?
The fact that he commit,
What rights of yours
shut
were
the
violated?
fuck up. I'm trying to tell you. Shut the
Right.
fuck up.
What right?
Shut the
What
fuck
then?
up. I'm trying to tell you right now, so shut your fucking mouth.
What right? What What amendment? I'm
It's
waiting.
it's called falsely reporting a crime.
He didn't report it. You did.
Bullshit. He fucking brought you over there, and you even said that he told you that I was on y'all's property and that I was making threats. That's falsely reporting a fucking crime.
You weren't arrested, were you?
It doesn't matter. He falsely reported a crime.
No, he didn't.
You know, go fuck yourself. I'm not. I ain't got a damn thing to say to you, fucking corrupt ass.
Who you need?
I need the sheriff if he's in.
You need the sheriff, like the sheriff himself, or is it a sheriff deputy?
I need the sheriff himself. I was actually the guy that was there the other day where the local police as well as the sheriff's deputy showed up outside of the St. Martin Parish Jail. What happened were major civil rights violations, and I need to speak to the sheriff about that.
All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer you to his secretary.
All right.
All right, sir, hold on.
Good morning, Howard Sheriff's Office.
Is the sheriff still in? What's that?
This is his assistant. How can I help you?
Yes, I'm calling actually. I need to speak to the sheriff. This is a major issue that honestly requires the sheriff's attention. This is Matthew Reardon. I was over there at the jail 2 days ago, September 19th, and the local police showed up as well as the sheriff's deputy. And what happened right there is a major thing. What happened at the jail was a major thing. Back on August 25th of this year, my camera gear was broken over me. I'm a journalist. I was outside of the federal courthouse in Lafayette, and my camera gear was broken over me by the U.S. Marshals. And I was passed off to Deputy Olivier at the hospital parking lot and told to be taken to the St. Martin Parish Jail. I told Olivier, I said, what charge am I being charged with? And he said, I don't have a charge. It's just a hold for the U.S. Marshals. I said, no, you can't do that. That's kidnapping. Due process requires that in order for you to take a free man, lock him in a cage, there has to be a charge. I told him to get a supervisor, that if he continued forward taking you to the jail, that ultimately that's putting his qualified immunity on the line. He never did. We're on the way going to the jail, and I just know that this is something horrid and dark that was set up, and we're getting close to the jail, and Olivier says, he asked me, please cooperate when we get there to the jail. And I told him, I said, I cannot participate in my own kidnapping. I have a duty and an obligation to not comply on something like that. There's no charge. Gets to the jail, he calls one of the booking guards. She's a bigger black woman, and she comes out there. My handcuffs handcuffed down about as tight as they could be, and they picked me up by the handcuff chain, nearly breaking my wrist. I'm screaming in pain as I was carried to the front desk of the jail. I was treated absolutely horribly in that jail. I've never seen such a just complete disregard for constitutional rights, for civil rights, and it'd be a laughable joke. I was ordered released by the judge the next day. And I feel like I know they were up to something. Well, I went back to the jail 2 days ago on the 19th because I wanted to serve a legal demand to preserve evidence. So I'm letting the county know that any video from the Sally Port, from the booking area that captured this crime being committed must be preserved. I have it in writing. What I would like is Well, I haven't even gotten into what happened 2 days ago. That was a joke right there. My rights were violated yet again. And if I have to come back there in person, it's going to be conflictually based on the past. So I would like the county to take receipt of my legal demand to preserve evidence electronically.
I'm gonna have our legal counsel contact you. Is it this contact number 66258?
Yes.
And your name's Matthew Reardon.
Yes.
And you were arrested on August 25th by which agency?
I was kidnapped by the U.S. Marshals, and then your agents took receipt of me. Yes.
Is Olivier or Olivier?
Olivier. Olivier.
Okay. I just need some clarification.
Yeah. Hey.
And U.S. Marshals kidnapped you where?
So let the legal counsel know that as a journalist, I'm publishing to We the People News. I've actually
Kidnapped. I'm gonna let him speak directly to you. U.S. Marshals kidnapped you. Where were you kidnapped? In St. Martin Parish or you Lafayette Parish?
I was in Lafayette Parish.
You were in Lafayette Parish.
Yes.
And you were transferred to our jail.
So I was taken to the hospital. The paramedics, when they eventually called them over at Lafayette, when they had me in the back of the Lafayette courthouse, the paramedics showed up an hour later, and my heart rate was between 140 to 160 beats a minute. I couldn't breathe. I was in so much pain. And they were so dismissive, saying, we just think he's just trying to get out of going to jail. That's bullshit, because I wasn't even charged with a crime.
Okay. Spell your last name for me.
Reardon. But yeah, I was discharged from whatever hospital they took me to late at night, and Olivier took me in shackles. They shackled me up. Olivier took me, and in the car, I asked about the charge. And then he told me that he was basically taking orders. And so I gave him the story about Nuremberg and the Nuremberg trials, and how when the Nazis gassed the Jews and then tried to say that they were just following orders, that didn't cut it. They were held to account, and I'm holding them to account. I told Olivier that night that I was going to strip him of his qualified immunity if he continued on, and he did. And then he took part in my torturing. It was a brutal torturing, being picked up by the bones in your wrist. It's horrible pain. And so I swear I'm going to strip him and anybody that had any dealings of it of their qualified immunity. There's no question about it.
Okay. I'm going to have our legal counsel contact you, Ms. Matthew, and we'll be back in touch with you, okay?
Okay, so I just need to know that as of this date, y'all have been made aware.
No, I'm not. No. I'm not accepting any of that, and I'm sure you're probably recording, and I'm asking you not to record.
No,
You are going to speak to our legal counsel. I am not going to accept anything by your words. So
what I'm saying.
And she hung up on me. Well, I was simply trying to make sure that the county had understood its legal obligation. There's now two parties to a case. There's now an accusation that's been made. There's an accuser, and there's the accused. And now there must be a trial.
May 2008.
Hours of operation are 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Good morning, yes, Marshall Service. Can I help you?
Good morning. I think you just transferred me. It went to a weird machine. Who is the supervisory deputy marshal?
Yes, may I ask the reason for your call?
I said, who
I
is
have
it?
to transfer you to someone else.
I said, who is it? Huh?
Does anybody know the reason for your call? Maybe I can transfer you to someone else.
Well, I was trying to reach the supervisory deputy U.S. Marshal. He had communicated something out. Who is the supervisory deputy U.S. Marshal for up there in Oxford?
His name is William Donald.
William Donald?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to get a hold of him.
One moment.
All right.
What's your name, sir?
Do what?
What is your name?
My name is Don.
Dunn.
Yeah.
What's your last name?
Well, I'd like to speak with is assistant available? I really, honestly, until I actually get speak to him, I don't want to. The U.S. Marshal Service is up to some shady shit. This is, I go by Don all the time. I'll just go ahead and tell you. This is Matthew Reardon. Pass the message along to him. I don't know who the hell he thinks he is, putting out BOLOs. Actually communicating over state lines to Louisiana and sending over basically a BOLO for journalistic activity. But I want to let him know that I'm doing some digging into him now, since he did some unfair digging into me. I'm an investigative journalist. I'm working on a story, and actually, whether or not he wants to speak to me is irrelevant. I want to give him the opportunity to at least be able to put his side out, or at least be able to give a response, something that the government's never done to me. But either way it goes, I'm going to run the story. And so if he wants to provide response to the records that I was able to obtain through FOIA from Washington, D.C., I will gladly allow him to respond and put that in the story.
And it's coming from the Northern District of Mississippi? That's
right. So let him know, We the People News. I'm going to be publishing to We the People News. That's what I've been publishing to. And if I think that's a pretty slime bag move that that he did. I mean, and I've got the emails, So if he wants to, he's more than welcome to reach out to me and give comment. Otherwise, he can stay. He's more than welcome to stay silent. I don't have to put his response out there, but I'm willing to give him the opportunity to respond to what he's done and put that in the story.
Okay, and so since you give me all that, give me your last name, and I'll tell him to give you a call back.
It's Reardon, Reardon.
A-R.
Reardon.
Hold on, say it one more time, a little bit slow for me.
Reardon.
All righty. And your number is?
That's
346-500. All righty, I will let him know.
Okay.
To give you a call back.
All right.
May 2008. The name Camp Devil Dog might sound like something out of a war movie. But to us, it was just another Marine Corps training base. An isolated post where the days blended into one another. And air carried the smell of sweat, dust, and gun oil. And the rules were as much a part of life as breathing. On that particular night, I was assigned to a roving post. Roving meant motion. You moved through your assigned area in regular intervals, stopping at checkpoints, scanning for anything out of place. In training environments, the most dangerous thing you usually encountered was boredom. But boredom wasn't on the schedule that night. The Marine assigned to Armory Watch was Lance Corporal Bradley Faust. He wasn't particularly outspoken, not someone you'd pick out in a crowd, but not invisible either. Like many of us, he carried burdens that weren't visible on the surface. As Armory Watch, he had access to the weapons. That's what the position meant. It was a responsibility that the Corps took seriously, entrusting Marines with guarding the very tools of our profession. The night air was still, punctuated only by the occasional call of distant wildlife and the familiar sounds of a military base at night, generators humming, the occasional vehicle passing, boots on the gravel as Marines moved between posts. I had just completed my check of the eastern perimeter when it happened. No one saw it coming. No warning signs that night. No whispered confessions. Just the sound, that unmistakable sound of an M16 set to 3-round burst. In training environments, gunfire was tightly controlled. Live rounds at that hour and that place were never part of the plan. Not only was I close enough to hear it, but I was also close enough to see it. Close enough to get there quickly, but not quickly enough. The scene was something you don't forget. The way the human body collapses when it's no longer alive. The smell of cordite in the air. The weapon still near his hand. The armory racks standing silently behind him, like mute witnesses. Lance Corporal Bradley Faust had made a decision from which there was no return. Within hours, the officers were there. Not just the on-duty supervisors, but higher-ranking men whose boots didn't usually touch the concrete outside their offices. They took control, ordered Marines back to their quarters, and secured the scene. The base became a flurry of activity. Medical personnel, military police, chaplains moving with purpose through spaces usually defined by routine and order. When the paperwork was done, it said training accident. That label carried weight. It wasn't just semantics. A suicide could mean loss of death benefits for Faust's family. A training accident could preserve them. At least that was the justification we were given. But in labeling it that way, they'd also rewritten reality. I watched as they sanitized the scene, not just of physical evidence, but of truth itself. The official narrative began to take shape before Faust's body had even been removed. A narrative that would protect the institution at the expense of honesty. Senior officers spoke in hushed tones about unfortunate incidents and operational security. Phrases that served to distance everyone from what had actually happened. A Marine, one of our own, had taken his life while on duty. That was the first time I saw how truth could be edited. how the official truth could be made to serve an agenda. In the days that followed, we weren't encouraged to discuss what happened. Fowle's personal effects disappeared from his quarters. His name became something mentioned only in whispers. The machinery of institutional self-preservation moved with remarkable efficiency, transforming a suicide into an accident, a personal tragedy into an administrative inconvenience. I stayed in the Corps after that, but I wasn't the same. That night planted something in me. A distrust, a refusal to take official statements at face value. I began to notice other instances where reality was adjusted to fit preferred narratives. Small at first, then increasingly significant. Training incidents where safety violations were downplayed. Disciplinary actions that seemed more about protecting certain individuals than maintaining standards. Equipment failures attributed to operator error rather than maintenance deficiencies. By 2011, I was discharged. The paperwork said alcohol rehabilitation failure. The Corps made it sound like the drinking was the disease, but I knew better. The drinking was just a bandage on something deeper. PTSD, though I couldn't get it recognized because the incident that triggered it didn't officially exist as a suicide. The system that had rewritten Bradley Fowle's death was equally efficient at reframing my struggles as simple misconduct, rather than the consequence of witnessing something that had shaken my faith in the institution I'd committed to serve. Years passed. The memory didn't. One day, I decided to push back. I filed a Freedom of Information Act request, not just for closure, but for proof. I wanted the records on that night, the internal communications, the after-action reports. If the Corps had quietly changed its standard operating procedures because of what had happened, I wanted it in writing, and I got it. Buried in the pages was the change. No more live ammunition for Armory Watch at Marine Corps training facilities. It was an unspoken admission that the training accident wasn't an accident at all. The policy change acknowledged what the official record denied: that Lance Corporal Bradley Faust had died by suicide, and that the circumstances that allowed it needed to be prevented in the future. That FOIA request didn't go unnoticed. Emails started showing up. Some were straightforward denials of certain documents. Others felt more personal. Some carried undertones, the kind you recognize if you dealt with people in power who want you to stop digging. They weren't random. The names tied back to people with connections. Law enforcement, political figures, individuals who on paper had no reason to care about my FOIA request regarding a Marine who had died years earlier at a training facility far from Mississippi. By May 2017, the pressure wasn't just coming from the shadows. It was out in the open. Oxford, Mississippi was in the middle of a quiet political shift. The state flag, the Mississippi flag, had been removed from city property. That wasn't done by accident or slow bureaucratic erosion. It was the result of a push led by then Board of Alderman member Robin Tannehill. She authored the referendum. The board approved. The mayor signed off. And in a matter of days, something that had flown over city property for generations was gone. Now Tannehill was running for mayor, unopposed. Election day was set for June 6, 2017. That spring, I took my protest to the public square. I didn't carry the American flag. I carried the Mississippi state flag, the one they'd taken down, as a direct statement. I believed in the right to speak out, the right to dissent, the right to be visible. That's what the First Amendment is for. But in Oxford, visibility comes with a price. On May 1st, 2017, I crossed paths with Lafayette County Sheriff's Deputy Timmy Pruitt. He wasn't wearing his badge, just the blank space on his uniform where it should have been. That absence spoke volumes before he even said a word. The encounter was brief, but heated. I asserted my rights. He gave me an order to leave. I asked on what grounds. He told me if I didn't leave, I'd go to jail. Moments later, he made good on that threat. The arrest was caught on camera. That video spread fast, shared by large platforms and pages that reached audiences far beyond Lafayette County. The public reaction was swift and overwhelmingly in my favor. Pruitt's actions were criticized loudly and often. I was told he'd been placed on administrative leave, though some called it a vacation, while county officials decided how to handle the fallout. But the timing was no coincidence. While I was being arrested, my ex, Phyllis Liz Crowder, and her attorney were in Lafayette County Chancery Court filing papers to block me from seeing or speaking to my only child at the time, my daughter Lydia. One hand held the cuffs,
while they robbed me of my rights as a father.
The rest of May was a steady escalation. The protest didn't stop. The legal moves against me intensified. The email threats kept coming. Surveillance became harder to ignore. The city's political machinery was engaged, and I was in its direct path. On May 26th, everything was in motion. The pressure, the hostility, the calculated steps taken against me, all of it converged. And that's where my story, as you'll hear on the RICO tapes and in my book, American Injustice, begins. What happened to Lance Corporal Bradley Faust that night at Camp Devil Dog set me on a path I never anticipated. His death, officially sanitized, institutionally reframed, opened my eyes to how power operates when it believes no one's watching. The quest for truth about his suicide has led me to question other official narratives, to challenge other instances where reality was being rewritten to serve those in authority. I couldn't have known then that my pursuit of truth would eventually cost me my freedom, my family, and nearly a decade of my life. But looking back, I can see how that night in 2008 was truly the first domino. The moment when I began to understand that official truth and actual truth are often separated by a gulf filled with power, politics, and institutional self-preservation.